Hi everyone, I really do not know quite how to start this video. I mean, here's a question. Can you be Model 3 man without owning a Model 3? Because that is the position I find myself in today. No surprise to my regular viewers, we sold up in Canada. The house is in a state of chaos, as you can see from these pictures here. I only found a little spot to film myself and cleared away all the boxes. I am moving to Cozumel with Janine. We're retiring. Yeah, we're going to do all the fun things, scuba diving and water sports and beach and the things I used to do as a young person. We're going back to our youthful pursuits while not being quite so youthful. But part of that meant, apart from selling the house, selling all the furniture, apart from that, I had to sell the cars. We have a Leaf and we have a Tesla. We've kept the Leaf for now because the Tesla was worth more, and my intention was to take the money from the sale of the Tesla, store it away, and use it for the Model Q or Model 2, whichever name turns out to be the real one, or it might even be something different, and use that money to buy the car when we're down in Cozumel. I gotta tell you, if you were to ask me, how would you feel about selling Red Dragon? I would have said, I'd probably be devastated. I'd probably feel completely lost, like an arm was chopped off or something. When it happened, it was twice as bad. It was much worse than I anticipated. So let me give you the story. In this episode, be very quick, very brief, but let me tell you what happened when I tried to sell the car, how it turned out, and where I stand now. So first of all, obviously, you know I advertised it on the channel in the last episode, and I put it in the normal places, Facebook, Craigslist, autotrader.ca, and something called AutoZen. There were three categories of would-be buyers. Once I had placed this beautiful ad listing all the 15 things that my car had that a regular Model 3 didn't have. First were the scammers. And what they wanted you to do was to go into some shady, sketchy website that wasn't even well designed and purchase a report, a car report, using your VIN. And then once you'd paid for that report, you would send it to them and they would come around. They were all eager to see it. They wanted to see it. They were dying to see it, but they want to see the report first. And it didn't take more than 2 minutes to Google it and to find that this is a very common scam when you're selling your vehicle. Then secondly, there were individuals. There were people from the website. Most of them, however, were, I would love it. I definitely want it, but I can't afford it right now, and my line of credit is 8% or 7 or 9%. I just can't afford it. But there was a third category of buyer that I noticed coming in. And the first was a fellow, a very nice guy, who said to me, I'm interested in your car, give me a call. It turns out he was from Mitsubishi. Now, Mitsubishi, apparently they sell a lot of used Teslas. First one offered me a price that was a few thousand below what I was asking, but they said, if it's all good, then we will give you this. I took it in. I brought it for an inspection, took an hour and a half. They found everything correct. Suspension, shocks, tires, body, everything was good. But they said all 4 rotors will need to be replaced. I said, what about the pads? No, the pads are serviceable. So how do the rotors get into a state where all 4 of them need replacing? Well, the question wasn't answered, but they took off $3,000 off their original offer. Well, I was not happy with that, so I took my car and drove off to the second Mitsubishi dealership that was courting me. And I got there, it was late afternoon, it was like 4 in the afternoon, 4:30 in Canada, kind of getting dark. I sat down, had a chat with a really nice guy, Nathaniel, and he said, well, look, we'll have to put it into the shop and do all these things and check it, drive it around the parking lot and check it out. And he came back with an offer that was exactly the same as the other Mitsubishi dealer, but he hadn't found anything wrong. He hadn't found anything to do with the rotors or anything at all. It's just that he says, look, Tesla have been cutting their prices regularly, and there was a huge demand for Teslas before, and we could sell them for whatever we wanted. Now, we might add $3,000 to the price we've given you, and we'll sell it quickly at that price. So I was not satisfied, was not happy. I stood up to go out, and he says, well, look, put down what you think. And why do you think it should be more? Do you know what they'd valued full self-driving at? $750. Now in Canada, it costs $16,000. But the point to them was, who cares about the full self-driving? Who wants it? Not the customers who are buying Teslas from us. So we'll give you a little bit of a credit because you've got full self-driving and because you've got unlimited connectivity. So there was the normal song and dance. I'll go and speak to my manager. What do you want? Ultimately, they raised it sufficient so that it was attractive for me. Now, here's the terrible part. This is the awful, horrible, demented part of selling your car to a dealer. Good news. They'll cut the check there and then. They'll do the licensing. They'll take off the plates. They'll close your insurance. They'll do everything. How many of you have been in a job where you got up to some kind of shenanigans and you were called into the boss's office, and basically the conversation went something like this. Listen, Jim, we're not happy with the way that you fill in the blanks. We've decided that we're going to have to let you go. What a terrible phrase. We're going to have to let you go. And you're suddenly aware that over your shoulder, there's a big burly man in a security jacket with his hand resting on his hip. And the boss says, we've got Fred here, back here, ready to take you to your desk and to clear out your stuff, and he'll see you out the front door. That's got to be one of the most awful experiences of any working person's life. But, you know, it happens. And that is exactly what it's like to sell your car to a dealer. Okay, Peter, well, we've come to this wonderful deal. So we'll get the check cut upstairs. In the meantime, we cannot let this car go home with you. Anything could happen to it along the way, and then our investment is gone. So what we're going to do is, we'll walk you out to the car, give you a bag. Actually, I had to steal the bag from near their trash can. It was a big black trash bag. So I just picked it up and took it. Nathaniel accompanied me outside. We went to the car. I luckily remembered my 500 gigabyte SSD. Remember that episode? 500 gigabyte drive with all my music on it. I pulled out everything that was a leftover or a hangover from my ownership of the car. So everything got thrown into the bag, tied it up, bundled it up, and walked back into the dealership. And then they said, listen, been a pleasure doing business with you. We're going to send for an Uber, which took 45 minutes because the Uber driver was in Abbotsford and had to come all the way up to Surrey. That is how dramatically and painfully they cut you off from your car. There's no chance to say goodbye. There's no chance to take it back to Janine and say, look, let's go for one last ride. Let's try full self-driving just another time. Let's just enjoy last moments. It's, hey, here's the car. It's ours. Get out the door. We'll get you an Uber. Goodbye. Man, that is devastating. I don't know. I'm trying to think of experiences that traumatic in my past, and I don't come up with one. You know why? I loved that car more than any vehicle that I've ever owned. It did everything for me. It was the most wonderful vehicle you could possibly dream of. You know, I've said that in my channel. I've had over 86 people purchase a car using my referral code over the years, 5.5 years. What does that mean? It means that my enthusiasm for the car carried over, and people then began investigating for themselves and decided that they felt just as excited, and they bought a Tesla. That's pretty much why Elon has not been having to advertise up to this point. The only consolation and the only saving grace was that the Uber that they called was a Tesla Model X. Falcon wing doors, Model X, and they took me all the way back from Surrey up to North Vancouver, and then he dropped me off and I walked down the driveway. Dragon Cave, my big tent, empty. Got to put Janine's little 2012 Nissan Leaf, which we'll have to sell for a few $100 on the day we leave or the day before we leave. So what am I going to do? I am Model 3 man without a Model 3. Here's what I plan. First of all, I'm going to increase the tempo of my uploads because when you're in Cozumel and you're so-called retired, there's a lot of time to do stuff. But I'm going to broaden the scope of the Tesla information that I cover. And I'm going to be covering news. I'm going to be covering my opinions on developments. I'm going to be covering the night of the Cybertruck reveal. A whole bunch of things that I will still use. And I'll call the channel Model 3 Man. And when the next Tesla vehicle comes out, I will be first in line to purchase that car. And I will be YouTubing every aspect, every facet of that car, everything there is to learn about it. And I will probably change the name at that time. That's the plan. Let me give you the deadline. We get kicked out on the morning of the 24th. And then we have 2 weeks staying in Vancouver, saying goodbye to friends. And then on Friday the 8th of December, we're at the Vancouver airport. We fly across to Toronto, and we fly down to Cozumel, land on the island of Cozumel at the airport, and maybe half an hour later we're at the place we're renting, which is pretty much on the beach. We're there, and we wait for 5 months while our condo is completed. But of course, we still have internet there. I will be following all of the Tesla-related news, sharing it with you with my opinions and my take on the news of the day and the news of the upcoming new Model 2 as well. So listen, till the next episode, look after yourselves, look after your Model 3 if you have one, or whatever Tesla you have, and I'll see you again in the next episode. Cheers for now.